Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into something huge, the seismic shifts happening right now in the world of artificial intelligence hardware. It's a real battle royale. Now, that is a bold statement, right? But stick with me here, because as we're about to see, the evidence is piling up that a kind of palace coup is brewing in the multi-billion-dollar AI industry. Okay, so for years, if you were in AI, you knew the deal. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang basically treated like a rock star. And his GPUs, well, they were like holy relics that every single AI lab had to have. This created something everyone started calling the Nvidia tax. And just look at this dominance. It let them keep their gross margins at around 75%. I mean, think about that. That's a number you'd expect from a high-end luxury brand, not a hardware company. So what on earth changed? All right, so this is where it gets really interesting. The first crack in the empire. It wasn't some flashy new chip from a competitor. Nope, it was a brilliantly simple negotiation tactic. It all comes down to this idea, the threat discount effect. And look, the concept is so simple, it's almost deceptive. But OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT, they showed the world just how powerful this simple idea could be. Get this, just by threatening to switch over to Google's chips, OpenAI got a whopping 30% discount from Nvidia. We're talking billions in savings, and they didn't even have to buy a single chip from a rival. It was the first real proof that the king could actually bleed. And you can see why analysts jumped on this. It was a huge crack in Nvidia's armor. But here's the thing, while OpenAI was busy playing the field, a few other companies were in the background quietly forging the weapons for an all-out rebellion. So, who are these rebels? Well, the rebellion was really led by three major players, and each one brought something totally unique to the fight. First up, you've got Google. And this is a bit of a redemption story, right? I mean, they literally invented the core technology behind modern AI, the transformer architecture, only to see OpenAI use it to launch ChatGPT on Nvidia GPUs. Ouch. After a pretty disastrous launch of their own chatbot, they staged a huge comeback. And they built it all on their own custom chips, the Tensor Processing Units, or TPUs. Now, if you look at the specs chip to chip, Nvidia still looks pretty tough. But that's not the whole story. The real kicker here is scale. A single Google TPU pod can link up over 9,000 chips. It's literally the difference between a souped-up sports car and an entire aircraft carrier fleet. Okay, so our next challenger is a radical outsider named Cerebras, and they went after AI's biggest bottleneck, something called the memory wall. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine you're a world-class chef who can cook incredibly fast, but every time you need an ingredient, you have to stop everything, run across a 6-lane highway, grab it, and run back. That's the memory wall. The processor is just sitting there waiting. So what did Cerebras do? Their solution was, well, it was breathtakingly simple, but totally revolutionary. You see, normally you take a big silicon wafer and slice it up into hundreds of tiny chips. Cerebras said, nope, we're not going to do that. Instead, they use the entire wafer as one single, giant, interconnected brain. They basically put the chef, the stove, and the entire pantry all in the same room. No more running across the highway. And the results? Just look at this. They are absolutely stunning. In a direct head-to-head test, the Cerebras system didn't just win, it completely lapped the competition. It clocked in at over 3 times faster than Nvidia's absolute best chip. That's insane. This right here, this is why OpenAI reportedly just made a $10 billion bet on Cerebras. They get it. For the next wave of AI, we're talking about AI agents that act in the real world. That instant response time, what we call low latency, isn't just nice to have. It is everything. And that brings us to our third major player, Anthropic. Now, their strategy was completely different. Instead of betting on just one horse, they decided to play all sides. They've built this colossal $90 billion plus compute empire spread across every major cloud provider using a whole mix of different hardware. And you know what? The results of this whole shift are just undeniable. Look at the new champions. The world's absolute top-performing models are now being trained on custom silicon from Google and Amazon. We've got major players like Apple and Midjourney switching over. The insurgency isn't just fighting back. It feels like they're actually starting to win. So, okay, we've got this epic battle raging, right? Nvidia versus this new rebellion. But there's a really fascinating twist to this whole story, a kind of kingmaker behind the throne. So who actually builds all these different rival chips? Well, it turns out there's a single, surprisingly quiet company that's basically supplying the weapons to every single side in this war. Yep, take a look. Nvidia's chips, made by TSMC. Google's TPUs, also TSMC. Amazon, AMD, Apple, even the wild wafer-scale chip from Cerebras, all of them are made by TSMC. The Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company has a near 100% market share for making these critical chips. They're building for the king and for all the rebels. Okay, so what does this all mean for us, for you? Why does this big shift from a monopoly to a multi-front war actually matter? Well, it means the old way of doing things is over. The era where one single company could dictate the pace and, more importantly, the price of AI innovation, that's gone. We're now entering a new world order. It's way more competitive, it's more innovative, and honestly, it's a whole lot more interesting. The big takeaway is this. The future isn't about one single, all-powerful chip. It's about this vibrant, kind of chaotic, and super exciting ecosystem of specialized hardware. This competition is breeding a whole new diversity of tools, and that is what's going to lead to faster breakthroughs and new AI capabilities we probably can't even imagine today. The monopoly is definitely broken. So now, in this new AI arms race, the big question is, who is going to build the AI that changes our world first? That right there is the question that's going to define the next decade of tech. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.